Yep. Was called Dave.
Me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor Bailey?
Here.
Mr. Bateman?
Here.
Mr. Blair?
Here.
Hart?
Here.
Mr. Ori? Vice Mayor Phelps?
Here. Here.
Motion to excuse Mr. Orr.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes. Welcome, everyone. With us tonight, we have our Director of Finance, Mark Medler, Assistant City Manager, Corey Wright, Clerk of Council, Misty Clark, City Manager, Dave Kennedy, City Solicitor, Joe Braun, Chief of Police, Michael Gabrielson. Captain Gangler is here, also Lieutenant Spock and Officer Wedmore. We also have former council members, Todd Osborne and Peggy Goodwin. We have another officer. We're not going to talk about you yet. All right, so welcome, everyone. All right, so first we have a presentation by the Loveland Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association.
Good evening, Council. I'm Peggy Goodwin, and I am one of the founding members and current president of the LCP AAA. I'm not going to repeat what Kathy said because it's that long. Our organization, we were founded in 2007, and what we do, if you're not familiar with our organization, is we support the police department. We are kind of an interface between the police department and the community and help to promote understanding of the police department, what they do. We show up at events to provide additional arms and legs for the police department. You'll see us at parades where we're helping to help with maintaining flow of traffic so people don't get out into parades. You'll see us at events wherever we do the Stuff a Cruiser event every year to collect food for the food pantry. So there's a number of things that we do. And basically, if the police department needs some help, they call on us and we round up some volunteers to do that. We have a couple of things that we want to do this evening. One thing I want to do is a shout out to Mayor Bailey and to Corey Wright. They braved the storm yesterday. It wasn't a true storm in the way of thunder and lightning, but a lot of rain for our annual CPAA golf outing. It's the one fundraiser we do. We do that in conjunction with Miami Township and Goshen. And so that the money that we earned from the outing helps us do some things for the police department. And you're going to see an example of that in just a couple of seconds here. One of the things that we do is a scholarship. And I'm going to have Holly Hines come up. She chairs the scholarship committee. She's also our membership chairperson. So she's going to come up and tell you about the scholarship committee. And then we'll do the second presentation.
Good evening. My name is Holly Hines, and I'm here on behalf of the Loveland Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association. I am a vice president with the organization, as well as chairperson for our committee, which presents the Emergency Services Scholarship, which is what I'm here to speak about tonight. The Emergency Services Scholarship began in 2018 as the Fred Barnes Scholarship to honor then newly retired Loveland officer Fred Barnes, who had served in the LPD for many years, as well as school resource officer in the Loveland schools. It was created to be awarded to a Loveland student who was interested in entering the law enforcement field. Since then, the name of the scholarship has evolved as we opened the criteria to include students who are interested in pursuing Ohio Peace Officer Certification training or a bachelor's degree in criminal justice or a related field, or be a current Loveland Police Department member pursuing a training course to expand their knowledge or skill set. The scholarship is a $1,000 award sponsored by the Alumni Association in partnership with the Loveland Police Officers Association. It is presented yearly to one qualified applicant, focusing on Loveland resident high school seniors, but also open for consideration to college students, children of LPD employees, and as I mentioned, LPD employees themselves. Our committee thoroughly reviews all applicants' school transcripts, essays, letters of recommendation, and a video introduction to get to know the applicants in areas such as good citizenship, community service, volunteerism, and academic activities, as well as their future educational and career plans. I am honored to be here tonight to publicly present the Scholarship Award. Our committee was very pleased with one candidate who stood out this year. She told us that she has long known what career path she wants to take and demonstrated a commitment to that plan throughout high school with her studies. She is a 2023 graduate of Loveland High School and plans to study criminal justice and psychology and major in forensic anthropology at the University of Tennessee. But unfortunately, because of her freshman move-in schedule, she was unable to be here in person tonight. The 2023 Emergency Services Scholarship has been presented to Lucy Schaefer with our congratulations and best wishes for a very successful academic career and beyond. Anyone who is interested in learning more about the Emergency Services Scholarship can contact the Alumni Association at lovelandcpaa@gmail.com to request information. Paperwork goes out in the fall, and we also have a public information Facebook page that people can follow to get some information on it as well. And that can be found at www.facebook.com/LovelandCPAA. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Holly.
There are 4 other members of that were present at the Golf Association outing yesterday that I forgot to mention earlier, who also braved the rain and got sopping wet. That is Lieutenant Campbell, Lieutenant Humphreys, Detective Moore, and Tina Kearns from Records Management.
We also had our HR director, Joy Deerdorf, was on our team.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. Thank you.
We were well represented.
Yes, and we appreciate that so much. Our other presentation is after the horrific incident at the school in Uvalde, Texas. A couple of our alumni members sprang into action, realized that our police department was lacking what could be a very important tool should any incident like that happen here. Plus, it has some other uses. So I'm going to ask Al Kressler. He and John Calder, who could not be here tonight, came up with the idea for this. So I want Al to come up for this presentation.
It's surprisingly light. Anyway, we asked some of the officers what were they going to do in case of a incident at the school, and they said, "We're going in." So we said, "You guys have a shield?" No. Well, next meeting we realized we had enough money in the treasury to fund a shield. So who's gonna? Are you the one?
I guess I am.
Yeah. So hopefully this will never be needed.
Yeah, yeah, is it still on? Yeah, absolutely. When they reach out to us, it's a fantastic tool that we hope we never have to use. It is actually level 3 rated. It's rifle rated, and so actually take multiple rifle rounds. As you can see, it's extremely light. It's one of the lightest that I've ever seen on the market. And then the port gives us the ability to cover your head as you're moving. And this isn't just for, shootings like Uvalde, someone that has an edged weapon that we don't want to use force against. This will protect the officers, keep that person back. So, it has multiple uses, but, obviously it is rifle rated. That's what it is intended for, but we have it. It's available for our officers. So it's deployed with either a supervisor or one of the other officers during a shift. So someone has it, and hopefully we can get it there if we do ever need it. So definitely thank the LCP AAA for providing this piece of equipment for us. And again, we hope, we have to retire it without ever using it one time, but it is a great tool for us to have. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So, on behalf of council, the Alumni Association does a fantastic job, a tremendous service to the police department and to the city all year long. And these are two examples of it, but it is all year long. We see you at all the events. Couldn't put those events on without the association. So we're very appreciative of your efforts, and we support our police department 100%. And it's nice to have the Alumni Association doing the same thing. So thank all of you. And if you could, let's get a picture with everyone, including council.
Thanks.
No, like pictures. Even though Andy's here. So. Michael,
Yes.
let me grab my. Is that right? Here. All right, we need you.
Go ahead and introduce. Another great opportunity for the police department here with the city. Thank you, Mayor, Council, and city staff for continuing to support the police department here. Tonight, I am here to introduce our newest member of the police department, Michael Spinelli. Just a little bit about him. Michael grew up in Hamilton, Ohio. He now lives in Mainville with his wife, Emily, who is with us up front here, their dog, Casey, and cat, Maya. Officer Spinelli comes to us has a family history of dedicated public service. His father, Dominic, who's in the front row as well, is a retired officer from the city of Hamilton Police Department. His mother, seated next to him, Lori, is a teacher with the Edgewood School District. So you can see where he got his, kind of that example for public service. There's obviously other guests here, but he does also have two older siblings, Mark and Mindy. And is it your sister-in-law is here, also an officer. So thank you for coming out and supporting Michael. Officer Spinelli began his career in law enforcement in 2013 with the village of Green Hills, Ohio. He then moved to the city of Trenton. For the last roughly 6 years, I guess he's been there. He was most recently assigned to investigations, doing criminal investigations. So Officer Spinelli joins LPD with just over 10 years of law enforcement experience and has many areas of expertise that he is bringing with us. And we are very happy to have him here and add him to our team. We think he's going to be a fantastic fit, not only for the police department, but for the city here. So happy to introduce Officer Spinelli to everyone here tonight. And his wife, Emily, is going to pin the badge right after the mayor issues the swearing in the ceremony. So I will let Mayor.
All right. So welcome to your family and friends. We like to do this because it's our opportunity to get to meet you and your opportunity to meet us, because you usually don't see us out and about too much. But it's an opportunity for us to reinforce that it's important to us that you're here. We're glad you're here. We will support you. We support our police department and our officers. And in return, we know the job you'll do, but we always want you to remember that you represent this city and this city council and the city residents when you're in our city doing your job. And this is just sort of a way for us to reinforce that. But we also like to introduce you to our residents. So we're happy to have you here to do that. So if you are ready, raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Michael Spinelli,
solemnly swear that I will
solemnly swear that I will
support the Constitution of the United States,
support the Constitution of the United States,
Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Charter and ordinances
the Charter and ordinances
of the City of Loveland,
of the City of Loveland,
and will obey the laws thereof,
and will obey the laws thereof,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of police officer
the duties of police officer
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations. Ready? You do all right? All right.
I'm excited to be here. I feel like I have a lot to offer. I've been searching for somewhere new for a little bit, for actually a couple years, and Loveland seems like the right fit for me, so I'm excited to get to work.
And then we'll do a picture, Chief.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Okay.
Glad to have you.
Give me a minute. Jeez.
Let's do another picture. Yeah. Let's do See, he sat down. I'll pictures. That's why I had to say so.
Oh.
Whatever you want.
They're not.
You good now?
All right, well, I have to squeeze a little more. All right. Congratulations. You want to give that to Chrissy? In the middle? No, not because you can't handle it. All right. Look that way. All right. I bet you have.
A family member and
Sure. North College. North College. College. What's the word?
yes. We don't invite you to those meetings.
All right. Next, we have Representative Rachel Baker.
Hello. I have some handouts for you all. Hand them that way.
Yep.
Thank you. So thanks for giving me a little time on your agenda. I just wanted to come. I'm fairly new to this office, and it's been a whirlwind the first 6 months. So I finally am back in district and wanted to come kind of check in with everybody. And specifically talk about some budget changes that can impact Loveland. So I pulled out items from the budget that are specific to Loveland and then specific to Hamilton County for the earmarks. So just to give you a little overall of some of the things we've been working on, one is the school funding will go up slightly for Loveland City Schools, up a 2.7% increase. We also have a $5 million item in the budget for Loveland schools for any students that currently qualify for free or reduced lunches. They all will get free breakfast and lunch now. And there's money in the budget for that. And for period products in any schools that have 6th grade or above, there's $4 million in the budget to supply those in the bathrooms. So those are kind of school changes. There is a change to the local government fund and public library fund, increasing it 1.7%. So not huge differences in this budget compared to the last one, but some little increases. And then I listed off some earmarks. The other big thing that a lot of people are asking about is there is a statewide merit scholarship, which are for the top 5% of every graduating high school class. So Loveland's top 5% will automatically get a $5,000 a year scholarship every year for any Ohio university. And they don't have to apply for that or anything. It's a straight gift to try to keep people in Ohio. Medicaid, there were several cuts to Medicaid, but then increases to other parts of it. So that should hopefully help some residents. And then the only other thing is capital budget. We'll start the process on that soon. There is a webinar this week, actually, to go over some tips for applying and submitting proposals to the operation or to the budget. If you have ideas and projects that you want considered, so I can send that if there's anyone who would be interested in that webinar. But my office is also putting together kind of a quick handout about what we're looking at. We have a much bigger capital budget than we've had in the past. So I would definitely recommend, if you have projects, submitting for them. And our office is also passing on opportunities for federal grants. So I know I sent that to somebody here earlier, and I don't think you guys had anything to submit, but Terrace Park submitted and got their whole water lines fixed. I mean, there's lots of grant opportunities. So I wanted to make sure that you all are aware of those and areas projects you have. My office is happy to be helpful and get some money into District 27 is my plan. So happy to answer any questions. And really, I just wanted to meet and open the lines of communication. So when I see these opportunities for local governments, that we're making sure that they're being pulled to our district.
Anybody have any questions? Yes, Mr. Hart.
So I see going to the school funding over here. I see that there's an increase in base teacher pay.
Mm-hmm.
I see there's a little bit of additional funding coming. Obviously, taxpayers in this particular city, in this particular district, are hit extremely hard by a school funding system that's been ruled unconstitutional multiple times. Has there been any discussion that you've been either made aware of or in circles of that maybe we're looking to attempt to
Fix that?
changes there that we could, I don't know, address?
I would love to address that. That was one of the big things that I ran on in my
Sure.
in my campaign. So I would say that this Cup-Patterson Fair School funding, which was passed several GAs ago, we did vote to implement the next step of it this GA, which you're seeing right now. But what's hard with that funding mechanism is that it has a plan for getting us back on track, but it involves the General Assembly voting for it every 2 years in their budget. And I can tell you that it took a ton of negotiation to just get this 2.7%. So I would say with the current makeup of our GA, I do not see anything very soon helping public schools. I see these little increases. I mean, we have this increase for fiscal year 24 and 25, and then we'll see who's there, then to vote on it. There's a plan to step it up. It's just every 2 years you have to people who will vote to continue the plan. And it's definitely a long-term plan. In addition to this, there was this was one of the biggest budgets for public education. I think $22.2 billion go into public education. So not a huge increase in Loveland. And when you look at individual ones, but when you look across, it was one of the biggest investments in public education. But at the same time, we did $1 billion into school vouchers, which ultimately are going to pull out of public education. So we're going to really be hit, I think. And we'll just have to see how it plays out. But I mean, it is something that's been ruled unconstitutional that we just continue to operate under, and we just keep passing levies and pushing this back on the taxpayers when Ohio has a huge budget. We have $191 billion. We could fix this if that was the priority. So
to be fair, a lot of districts really like the funding model because they're need based, whereas Loveland is a fairly affluent bedroom community with no industry to back our school funding, right? So our taxpayers in our city, in addition to try to get new bridges and roads paved and do all the things that we need to do to keep this city where we need to be, they're getting hammered with school taxes because we can't get it right at the state level, right?
exactly.
So it's frustrating. I appreciate your efforts. I absolutely appreciate your efforts to try to work through that process. I know it is a lengthy process.
Yes. And I would say everybody knows that it's broken. And even people who are getting bigger chunks of it don't like, most of them I've talked to don't like something about it. So I don't know anyone that loves it, but I don't see it being a huge priority to fix, to be completely transparent. I'm bringing it up all the time, so we'll see.
Best of luck with your continued efforts.
Thank you.
Just interested in the local government fund. I mean, I recall 10 years ago when it was basically reduced to zero. I see there's a permanent increase of 1.7%. Does that portend that there'll be more sharing from the local government fund to municipalities like Loveland?
I think we got Loveland specific data. Did I include it on here?
You did.
You did.
Yeah, so a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, that's, people talk about these big, broad things, and then when you break it down to really the districts, it's a little bit, and I think that we could do a lot better on that too. It's a fighting battle, I will say. I think I went in very hopeful, and definitely some things have been hopeful, but there's a lot that needs to be fixed. So we'll see when we get back up there if we can address some of this for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? I do appreciate that you highlighted our governor vetoing that provision that would have banned local municipalities. As a city, we are very aware of the efforts to undermine our home rule authority, and we just ask that you kind of keep that in mind, because it seems like a lot of our representatives and senators come from townships, so they're not too concerned about the municipalities and the issues that affect only us, and this is one that really affects us, and it seems like it's being undermined often.
Yes, and this was something that got a ton of debate, and eventually I voted against it. We could not, it had to stay in, and we were under the assumption that the governor would veto it, so I'm glad that all played out the way it played out. But I would say, like, the local and home rule is something that comes up with almost every issue, and I'm definitely a proponent of letting the people decide who live there and who are closest to the decisions. So I'm
Appreciate
on that side for sure. Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
But feel free to reach out anytime. I think I put my office number and stuff on here. I live in Anderson Township, so I'm close by. But I am very accessible and wanting to be a kind of leader who understands the issues in each of the parts of my district and then can really represent them there. So anything you see, feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to forward on ideas and thoughts I have as well. So,
okay, Representative,
Great.
thank you for taking
Thank
the
you.
time
Thanks
to
for
come
having
to
me.
meet with us. Appreciate it. Okay, next on the agenda is review and approval of the minutes from the July 25th, 2023 meeting. Are there any additions or changes to those? We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes?
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps,
I have to abstain since I was not in attendance.
Mr. Ping,
Yes.
Mayor Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, we have ordinances 11A through F. Mr. Medlow, you want to introduce these?
Thank you, Mayor. We did discuss these at a first read at the last meeting for our lighting assessment, but due to the election pushing this meeting back a week, we would not be able to have two reads and then a 30-day time period. So these are the similar ordinances just as an emergency.
Okay, does anybody have any questions regarding that? All right, we'll go ahead and read the first one.
Ordinance assessing lighting, maintenance, and operation costs associated with the Brandywine on the Little Miami subdivision located in Warren County, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps,
Yes.
Mr. Ping,
Yes.
Mayor Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ordinance 82 is adopted by a vote of 6-0.
Move the next one.
Ordinance assessing lighting, maintenance, and operation costs associated with the Hermitage Point subdivision located in Warren County and declaring an emergency.
Call the roll.
Vice Mayor Phelps,
Yes.
Mr. Ping,
Yes.
Mayor Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Mr. Hart.
Yes.
Ordinance 83 is adopted by a vote of 6-0.
Read the next ordinance.
Ordinance assessing lighting, maintenance, and operation costs associated with the sanctuary at Miami Trails subdivision located in Claremont County, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ping,
Yes.
Mayor Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps.
Yes.
Ordinance 84 is adopted by a vote of 6-0.
Read the next ordinance, please.
Ordinance assessing lighting, maintenance, and operation costs associated with the White Pillars Phase 1 subdivision located in Claremont County, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps,
Yes.
Mr. Ping.
Yes.
Ordinance 85 is adopted by a vote of 6-0.
Read the next ordinance.
Ordinance assessing lighting and maintenance and operation costs associated with the White Pillars Phase 2B subdivision in Claremont County, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps,
Yes.
Mr. Ping,
Yes.
Mayor Bailey.
Yes.
Ordinance 85 is adopted by a vote of 6-0.
Read the last ordinance, please.
Ordinance assessing lighting, maintenance, and operation costs associated with the White Pillars Phase 3 subdivision located in Claremont County, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps,
Yes.
Mr. Ping.
Yes.
Where did I start?
I think you missed me.
Mayor Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman.
Yes.
Ordinance 86 is adopted by a vote of 6-0.
Thank you. Mr. Kennedy.
Tonight, this memo accompanies resolution which would allow the city to award the contract for the Harrison Avenue Improvement Project. And I've sort of talked about that project so many times. I don't want to go into much detail about the specifics of the project, but it truly is, my opinion, sort of a transformational project because it links to so many other. I mean, it allows the parking lot to come in, it allows the sidewalks, it allows us to move forward with Nisbet. So I really do believe it's just a critical, important project that allow so many other elements in downtown to start get moving on. But dealing specifically with the cost of the project, the estimates, and how we got to where we're at with Ford development, the finals engineers estimate for the project came in at $659. We knew that, of course, right around the bidding period. So the recommendation was to modify the project, and I'll go back real quick. The city is receiving award of $370,000. We had budgeted $92,000 as our local match, at a project cost of $462,600. So the project cost went up. So trying to pivot, the city, we made two modifications. We did two alternate bids, which is where you bid the base and you bid the two alternates separately. The one alternate was to not complete the surface paving of the project. Theory there was that we have options. Most notably, we can use the road program. We traditionally try not to use the road program for anything but this fits in perfectly to use the road program because this is one that would have been paved in the road program if we weren't waiting for all the earth to be removed as part of the parking lot. The other was to, instead of the streetscape sidewalks with the soldiering and the borders, we asked for an alternate on that. So once the bids came in and those are laid out, the base bid was $490. Going down to the two finalists. The base bid was $490 for KT Holden Construction, $506 for Ford Development. It was the opinion of all of us that it's way too early to go ahead and deviate from our streetscape plan and not follow along with our design for our sidewalks. It really makes sense that we move forward with the alternate one, which was for the sidewalks, and pass on the alternate for the surface coat. Because when you look at the timing of this project, it only makes sense that it be either as part of the road program, as part of the City Hall realignment, repaving of everything along the city hall or the downtown parking lot. So with that, the Ford Development Company is the lower of the two bids. The backgrounds references were checked on both. They're both stellar. Ford Development most recently did the Main Street project, if I recall. That was if you've been on Main Street where we did the sidewalks and all that work with the curbs and the gutters and everything with the water project, that was a top notch. So we at this point where staff's recommending that we move forward with Ford Development base bid plus the alternate 534,061. The additional funding up and above the city's local match, up and above the 92, we've already added it to the 2024 budget. That won't be drawn out till next year. So we're fine to get the project. We're awarding it actually tonight, and we'll move forward with the contract signing, and this project will get started. Again, this will allow us to move. There'll be nothing stopping us from moving forward with Nisbet completely now.
All right. Any comments or questions? Mr. Blair?
Mr. Kennedy, may I ask a question of this? I guess more directed at Mr. Medler. We're going over what we figured by $73,000. Yes. So, what impact will it have on next year's budget?
It'll just be an amount that we'll be able to absorb through some other avenues. I'm not really concerned.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, Vice Mayor.
Just interested in this. Having this project is important, but in particular for storm sewer.
Yes.
Flooding down there has always been a problem in the park as well. I'm glad to see that we're going to put underground.
Yeah, there'll be check valves, and that's been the hindrance in moving forward on the amphitheater, which is probably going to go down as one of the more popular projects this city has done in a long time with the new amphitheater. Couldn't move forward with that. She was talking about. The state representative Rachel Baker was talking about capital projects. We've already submitted for the Claremont County side. Corey and I went and met with them for $500,000 towards the amphitheater through the Claremont County. And again, you can't move forward unless we get this part of the project done. So it really triggers many other projects. That's why it's so exciting.
Any other comments or questions? Read the resolution, please.
Resolution awarding the contract for the Harrison Avenue Improvement Project to Ford Development Corporation.
Any comment on the resolution itself? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey? Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Resolution 88 is adopted by a vote 6-0.
Mr. Kennedy?
So last year on November of 2022, the City Council for the first time worked an agreement, authorized an execution of agreement with the White Pillars HOA to snow removal, ice treatment, whatever the official word is, for of the undedicated streets in the White Pillars subdivision. It's pretty obviously White Pillars is a little unique in that a portion of the roadway is dedicated streets and a portion of it is private roadways. Private roadways are not maintained by the city. In this was an opportunity we felt that, so the HOA reached out to the city after multiple efforts of not properly taking care of the streets, that they felt, there's 212 houses in there, and I did a quick count. 138 of those city residents are located on undedicated roadways that were treated every year by a different company that the HOA was contracting with. So when they reached out to the city, one of the calls immediately was, you think about Chief Gabrielson and you think about Chief Huber, and the fact that whether they're private drives or not, we're still making emergency runs to it, and that it's pretty important. So the city came up with an agreement for a 1-year trial basis where the city would charge $1,125 per snow event. That was considerably less than the HOA was paying for the private. It was obviously nowhere near the dependable, nowhere near the equipment, obviously. So it went very well. The city conducted 3 snow removal, we call them snow events, in that area. Total invoice of $3,375. City was the funds were quickly remitted back to the city, and from what I understand, they were very content with the amount of work. And again, the entire subdivision was done. Now the private drives were in it. So they reached out to us and asked us again if we would consider it. I still would like to try it on just a 1-year deal. It was probably my mistake. I missed Silas, which is about as long as this room. So we're not going to up the price. It's a little half circle connection. We may have been doing it naturally. It asked us about some private drives. It just doesn't work. Now we're going over the edge a little bit. We're on concrete, so we really can't do the private, but we can't do the Silas. Scott and I agreed it wasn't worth increasing the price. So just because everybody loves salt trivia, I added that. So just if you're curious, at $3,375 at our current rate, we purchased or could purchase with those funds 37 tons of road salt. An average truck holds 7 tons of road salt. According to Scott, the private roads 3 times would use about a quarter of a bed of salt. So it really does work out for both parties. And I really commend City Council, because this isn't the kind of thing big cities do. Private drive, take care of yourself. And I really commend Council, because this was a win I think it was a win for the city. It's 10, 15 minutes of their time when they're up there. And I think it's a win for our residents and win for our emergency services. And I think it just worked out perfectly. So this is just another 1-year agreement. And Corey and I talked, maybe in the next year we'll come back with something that'll make it, it'll just continue until both parties exercise an option. But I don't see that. But for now, we just want to do 1 more year agreement.
Mr. Blair.
Mr. Kennedy, why are these streets not dedicated?
Because if they're not dedicated streets, they don't have to build them to the same standards. Private developers on these this, if you recall, is where the sort of the empty nester homes are. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit more common for them to just say, we're going to build these, we'll take care of them ourselves. They mow the grass for the common areas. They take care of everything. So the roads are not built to the same standards they would be built. So they're less expensive on the front end for the developer. And then the city then never has to pave those streets. It's a balance sheet type item for a developer to simply look at a project and go, this part of the thing is going to be a much more tight knit. These are much more cluster developments. They have a big pond. They have a lot of green space, all maintained by the HOA. And
well, we know very well how important it is to maintain your roads. If these streets aren't built to our standards, and they have to pay to have those streets redone,
it won't be the city. Yes,
I think it's penny wise and pound foolish for those
yes.
residents not to have those streets dedicated, because we've seen, to our own surprise,
how quick
they can start to go bad, and some of those are starting to go bad.
So I think this is, like you said, it's what happened in the developers before my time. What decisions they make, I don't know.
Okay.
But
thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Yes, Mr. Hart.
Just quickly, with our current salt storage capabilities, we do have enough to cover this for the upcoming winter.
Yeah, we're good.
You don't even care.
He ran those numbers forwards and backwards.
Okay, fair enough.
Do you have any other questions, Mr. Hart?
About salt.
That's all.
Vice Mayor?
Just for clarification, so will they get the same level of service as the rest of the city, or is this unique?
No, it's the same. The crews hit those private roads when they're doing the rest of the White Pillars subdivision. No more, no less. Whenever White Pillars got treated 3 times.
Anyone else?
If you can't have fun doing it, why do it?
What's that?
If you can't have fun doing it, why do it?
Read the resolution, please.
Resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for snow and ice removal of the undedicated streets within the White Pillars subdivision.
Any comments on the resolution itself? Call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Payne?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Resolution 89 is adopted by a vote of 6-0.
Mr. Wright.
Thank you, Mayor. So just wanted to bring to council's attention a little project that we've been working on. So West Loveland Avenue street lighting. With the downtown strategic plan, you know, if you think back 3 to 4 years, there were a host of recommendations that came out of that. You know, notable among that were some important improvements downtown, some of which have already been implemented, specifically the Carl Brown Way crossing. Some other things that were strategic were sort of identifying opportunities for redevelopment. That's since occurred with the Landing Event Center. Looking at new parking, which, as Mr. Kennedy has talked, is now, you know, under design, and a host of other things. But some notable things that have not yet come to fruition were sort of extension of the city's streetscape design into what I would call sort of a burgeoning kind of vibrant mixed use area, the West Loveland district. And with that, looking at the plan recommended things like a trial road diet potentially, multiple modes of transportation, and an extension of the streetscape furniture up sort of in the uptown area. So what is that area? That area is now, it's very vibrant, it's mixed use. Most of the residential structures or prior residential structures along the corridor have since been converted into business, you know, small office uses, kind of an eclectic mix down there, personal services and whatnot. And so with that, the city took steps to sort of extend the streetscape furniture or the streetscaping design down. If you look at the new mast poles, the traffic signal mast poles at West Loveland and Love Madera and Elm, and also at Wall Street, significant upgrade over the prior, you know, installation there. So really enhance that, and then also with the kind of refurbishment of Main Street, sort of long due, that enhanced that, and that is a beautiful street. If you walk down it, very, very nice. You have trees, you have sidewalk, new curb, new street, pavement, the whole 9 yards. So, but one thing that the area lacks is the street lights, and I think those are so emblematic of, you know, what makes downtown is decorative street lights. And so we were looking for opportunities on how to advance sort of the recommendations of the downtown plan without basically starting from scratch and conducting what would be a very capital intensive roadway reconstruction project. So looking at that, street lights are an opportunity because, as council is aware, we can pursue street lighting projects through the Duke Energy Outdoor Lighting Program. And so the benefit of that is it allows the city to either pay up front or to amortize that over a defined term, because depending on your capital needs and whatnot. And, you know, so we started down that road. But it became very apparent very early on that there's really not enough area in the existing tree lawn because of the sidewalk and sort of a compressed right-of-way. We need to look outside the box. So talking to Duke Energy, they do have the option to do a direct bury pull. They do need easements. And so, you know, you can't fit them in the tree lawn. You don't want to impact the sidewalk. You don't want to tear up the curb. So where do you put them? Put them on the backside of the walk. You go get easements for those. And they have a spec easement that they provide. It's about a 7.5 by 10 foot easement that would be procured on that. So just wanted to give council an update on that. There's no fiscal impact at this time. We do have to go out and start knocking on doors and getting easements based on the photometric plan. The photometric plan is very attractive. It does distribute the light evenly among the structures and whatnot in the corridor. The structure will be low glare fixtures. It provided a picture to where we can most similarly approximate kind of what we have downtown with the direct bury fixture, low bug rating, you know, backlight uplight glare. Open acorn, no light, no glass, so it is a true dark sky compliant fixture, and a warm 3000 K light temperature. So I think that with that, we'll go out. I mean, unless there's some directive to the contrary, go out and start trying to procure easements. We're still waiting on the form documents from Duke Energy, so we'll need to follow their forms on that. And then when we have that, then we can bring the costs and things forward to council. But just wanted to give you an update on that. So,
Mr. Blair.
Mr. Kennedy, this question is directed to Mr. Wright. First off, I'm very happy to see that we're already employing the dark sky ordinance that we passed. I think this is a great idea. I have one question, just more informational. You talked about the number of structures, used to be houses on West Loveland Avenue between the bridge and Loveland, Madeira. Approximately how many former houses are there, and how many of those have been turned into business funds?
Now you're asking me to count structures. So I'm thinking block by block here. I would say definitely on the south side, generally, nearly all, if not all of those are conversion. Yeah, it's all but.
So everything but one,
and then
on the south side of West Loveland Avenue, from the bridge to Loveland, Madeira, is already some form of commercial.
It is commercial, small office. And on the north side, I would say, when I drive the area 3 to 4 times a day, I would say 3 to 4 houses remain in the whole area. So thank you.
Any other comments? Yes, Vice Mayor.
Just on the easement issue. So are the easements being obtained from Duke or from property owners?
So the easements would be encumbrances on the property. See, we would have to get those easements on the property from the property owners. The easement holder would be for Duke Energy because they're the ones that are actually accessing. It's for their lights and equipment.
Okay. And do you have any cost estimate
on the lights and equipment? I do not. On the easements themselves, I mean, I think that the project would be, and Mr. Kennedy did. I think he did a phenomenal job before I was here with getting easements for the traffic mast poles and the pedestrian activators, and I believe those were at no cost to the city. Correct?
Yeah, they were free.
Yeah. So that would be our goal to pursue this. Would be we really need the easement. Voluntarily, if that. So.
Yes, Mr. Hart.
Odd question, maybe. Do we have any, when we get the easement, do we pick up any like landscaping responsibilities for anything around any of these lights? With 7x10 easement, and the light's not that big.
So it's really prescriptive, and it's to the easement holder. So it's really, but Duke Energy, if they have an easement, they're not going to want landscaping in that easement because of the impacts to that. So in a lot of subdivisions, like if they work on a transformer or whatever, people will. I've actually seen this in my neighborhood where they came in and they cut vegetation down in front of a transformer. So what we would do, and they worked on this plan to place these lights so that there was no specific, impact other than just open areas. And if you look at the plan and you kind of walk the corridor, you'll see, that it's basically just grass right now.
So residents don't cut the grass.
Yeah,
or the
the residents will still maintain around it. Right.
Any other comments? Yes, Mr. King.
These lights are all direct burial. There's power lines along that area right now, though. Correct?
There are aerial power lines. That is correct.
So would they? But these would all be direct burial. There would be no power lines to them. Right?
They would. So what they would do is set a transformer or several transformers, kind of in the area, and then run the power to the transformer, and then feed the lights through that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, I just appreciate the continued efforts to implement the plans that our community spent so much time on in this council. So I think I appreciate moving this forward. Thank you. Mr. Kennedy.
So, again, I sometimes wish the public could see the amount of work that goes in, but for quite a while, Corey, Chief Huber, and Bruce Hawk, along with MSA Design, worked pretty tirelessly on the design of the fire station. How do you? And they found that perfect line of a very functional station, but one that's also fits in our downtown. We're not, and that was I think that was the product. I think you saw it during the presentation, and it's very unique the way that station is designed, and quite frankly is the reason why the city acquired that property, most important because it allows for rear entry from return. That aside, the next step was staff was charged with finding the funding to pay for the fire station. I just, from my years of experience, grants for operational type things are very, very rare. Only in extremely rural areas. You don't see city halls, you don't see fire stations, you don't see township administration buildings. They just typically are not funded through grants. With that in mind, we looked pretty steadily on 2 particular type of loan programs, trying to find something that would work best for the city. Spoke to hired a Department of Commerce and the USDA out of the Hillsborough office. And we worked pretty hard on trying to zoom in on this, whether or not we would be eligible, and ended up finding a pretty good fit with the USDA. Why is that? Mostly because the station is located in Claremont County. So one of the unique things that comes with being in Claremont County is, if you recall, is why the city is eligible for that Appalachian Regional funding. That being said, the city will be looking at potentially 1.5% interest rate savings over the course of the loan. USDA funds up to 30 years. We're looking potentially between 20, 25 years to spread this out. For a $5.4 million fire station over the course of this loan, we're looking at major significant savings to this city, specifically to the fire fund. It's important for a lot of reasons, because obviously the city takes any debt that we look at seriously, but also residents just passed a fire levy. This allows the city to stretch out those fire levies as long as possible. So we're pretty excited that we have been preliminarily approved to proceed with the process. The other two items that you don't factor this in, and Mark gets it and Corey understands, but when we go for the USDA, we do not need a purchasing agent and we do not need a underwriter. Wonderful people, but they're all taking a cut. So none of that is involved. We simply work with bond counsel. We do not have to, any of that funding stays in. This is straight up. The USDA is purchasing the bond from the city, and they dictate the interest rates. That's why you don't need an underwriter and a paying agent who makes sure all the bondholders get paid. We don't need one of them because we'll be paying USDA directly. So two parties that are typically involved in any type of debt funding the city takes on are not involved at all. And that's really important and more savings to the city. So with that in mind, we really have 3 steps in this USDA process. This is simply the applicant, which is the city, is supposed to notify you all that this is the direction we're going and get a nod to proceed with this. This goes into the application via a simple motion. I'll be back for 2 separate actions by City Council. One is a bond resolution, and another is a general resolution accepting the bond. I would anticipate hopefully soon that we will get what's called an obligation of funding, which will lock in. We're looking at 3.6%. We were told by our regular agent we would be somewhere in the low 5s. So that savings over the course of the loan is a bunch. And so while that comes with a lot of paperwork, it's well worth it. And we anticipate funding to be available by November, which is sort of in line with what the construction team has been working so hard on. So all I would need from you is simply a motion authorizing the city manager to proceed with USDA funding for construction of Fire Station 63.
Does anybody have any questions, comments? All right. Yes.
Well, I just would say, this fire station is important. As we know, the existing one is not going to function much longer in its limitations. And I just wanted to give kudos to this city and in particular, Mr. Kennedy, for finding this funding source and being fiscally responsible. It's a credit to your job that you do every day here. So thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, I know there was another funding source that Mr. Kennedy was pursuing that did not pan out, but rather than put his head down one after trying to find another one. And so this one, I think, is pretty excessive, the paperwork that's required with it. But as always, Mr. Kennedy's willing to put in that work to save the city. All right, so we do need a motion. Did anyone listen to Mr. Kennedy and what motion needed? Mr. Bateman.
I move that we go with the city's recommendation to proceed with USDA funding for the new fire station.
Second.
Any comment on the motion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, there are various committee minutes and reports. Does anybody have any comments on those? I did not get my usual sheet of events to announce. I will say Rooster Ridge was here on Sunday, and it was very well attended. The concert in the park at Nisbet. And in fact, ran into a former state senator who had his whole family there, who was commenting on all the people and what a good job we're doing at having these concerts. And he said he and his family just came from spending $300 in one of our local restaurants. So in addition to providing a nice Sunday night for our residents, we're helping our businesses with those as well. Which leads me to the next one, Misty, is August 27th. Bourbon Road. Do you know what Bourbon Road does? I think it's country, isn't it? So Bourbon Road, August 27th. It's actually the last one other than rescheduling one.
We have one we're going to reschedule for September 10th, I think.
One we canceled.
The Linus Tate, the one that was canceled at the beginning of the season.
That'll be September 10th.
And
All
we
right.
also have rescheduled, or we're working on rescheduling the movie in the park we canceled last week because of the weather. So we're looking at September 16th for that.
All right, very good. But if you're available, come on out for Bourbon Road because it is a pretty fun Sunday night. All right, next, anybody else have anything else that you need to tell us about? All right, we need a motion for executive session.
I'll move for executive session under Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G3. Confer with legal counsel regarding imminent litigation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Blair?
Yep.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Payne?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, it is 8:45. We're back from executive session. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yep.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.